Hi, everybody. All right. Hopefully you all can see us. All right. Let's see if I'm looking at a different screen than what everybody else can see right now, I believe. So let's try.
Dhruv, Bob and Terry, welcome everybody.
Hi, Drew. Hi, Bob and Terry. Great to see you guys. This is awesome.
Dhruv, are you currently under quarantine as well?
Yeah, Drew, let us know. Drew's a consultant. I'm sure has been grounded like many other consultants right now.
Boris Yergantsi. Apologies if I mispronounced the name. Welcome. How's everybody doing?
So
sorry if I also look confused there. It's very small print and getting old.
Yeah. So Derek and I just got back from the Netherlands last week. We actually got back Friday, right before the U.S. deadline, Friday evening. And so we are in self-quarantine, not a mandatory one, but we are still trying to be as cautious and mindful as possible during these times.
Yeah. So instead of Starbucks, we're making our own coffee. I made myself a little cappuccino, some cinnamon on top.
Boris is from Turkey. Thanks for joining. That's terrific.
Nice. Welcome, sir. Welcome. We really want to go to Turkey. We have not been to Turkey yet. We've actually not done anything in the Middle East as of this point. But we really want to make it to Turkey, Istanbul, Cappadocia. It looks awesome. I really want to do the hot air balloon ride over Cappadocia. That seems really cool. So if you have recommendations for us, sir, please let us know.
Yeah, because we're assuming that this will all be over someday.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to make it to Turkey. So I'm actually drinking, out of my branded mug here, a turmeric tea, because it's the afternoon here, and I try not to drink too much caffeine in the afternoon. Oh my gosh, Derek, yeah, stop. And
Swag.
Derek's drinking out of our Amsterdam mug a Nespresso fancy coffee, because as some of you might have seen when we were promoting this, that he refused to drink tea. He's still sticking with coffee right now.
Fake news.
Hi, Rachel. Oh my gosh, my best friend's on. Thanks for joining. So Rachel just found out today from the airline that she works for that she has a few days of quarantine herself. So hi from Salt Lake. That's so sweet. Hi.
All right, so Dhruv is saying that yes, he's working from home, and people are on lockdown right now. So same with my work. I think we're work from home this week, and then potentially back to work next week. But I find that pretty unlikely. I think we're probably going to be in homework mode for a little while now still.
Yeah. And I always work from home. So
this is her office.
Yeah, I'm actually we're sitting in my office right now, which some of you might have found familiar because of the background of some of my YouTube videos from before.
I decided not to do this in my home office because it is not nearly as nice.
Yeah, and what's funny is because we're in Chicago, about, I don't know, an hour ago, it was snowing behind us outside.
Looks like it stopped.
Yeah, it has stopped now, but if it starts snowing again, you guys will know that we're still in winter time here. Oh, hi.
Darlene's awake in Lawrenceburg. That's good. So, I guess just to get into why we're doing this, I think we figured that it would be nice to, have connectivity to the community even while people are working from home and self-isolation or social distancing or what have you, and kind of talk about some of our experiences traveling in the lead up to the travel restrictions in the US. Maybe talk a little bit about what some of our friends are seeing and what people have been doing recently, and take any questions people might have. I don't know. I saw, Bob and Terry, you guys, still recommending 14 days. I think that's still the recommended time for self-quarantine.
But we go off of whatever the cdc.gov website says, and that can change at any time. And we try to make sure to only, read and respond to those official communications, because there's so much news out there and people are sharing more than ever on social media. And
I'll be right back.
The people are sharing more than ever on social media, and just want to make sure everyone's sharing accurate news. So, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if my mom is Ruth Armstrong, by the way, on the chat. I don't think we have opening music on this, so I'm not sure what you're listening to.
Yeah, I just logged in from my phone over there. I think the sound should be working. But yeah, no, we highly recommend that you guys, get all information that you are looking for from CDC, the WHO. If you're in the U.S., CDC. If you're in Europe, if you're in like the UK, the NHS, or whatever the local one is. I'm not sure, Boris, what it is in Turkey. Maybe if you wanted to share that with us, that'd be cool. But yeah, it's important that you get your facts from trustworthy sources, not just social media.
And just official sources, too. Because you definitely don't want to do anything that's incorrect with what your country or your state is trying to make happen. So anyway, we also on this wanted to share our experience from a few days ago. We were in Amsterdam all last week.
Mm-hmm.
We flew in Sunday night, arrived Monday morning, and we were there for several days and found out, of course, on Wednesday night that middle of the night Amsterdam time. But I think
2:30 in the morning.
I think it was 9 p.m. Our president announced that they needed everybody to return from Europe. So we changed our flights to get back before the Friday deadline that was implemented. So I think we wanted to just share what that experience was like as well, because we've had a lot of people talking to us about it.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that, I think there was some, confusion maybe at the very, very beginning on what exactly the travel restrictions were. We thought that it was that if you didn't make it back, you were kind of stuck. It came out later that Americans could make it back, so we were a little bit less rushed to get back on Thursday versus Friday. So what we ended up doing ultimately is coming back on Friday. So we got at least one extra day in Amsterdam, and it's funny, we had just extended our Amsterdam hotel for that extra night, so it was kind of nice to be able to actually use that extra night.
Only a few hours before.
A few hours before that, we had extended our stay in Amsterdam by a night.
We were very actively monitoring the situation every single day that we were there, using data from Johns Hopkins dashboard, which has been so helpful in our opinion.
Very user-friendly.
And very user-friendly. And then also the Netherlands had set up its own dashboard on an official Dutch government website, with information by each city of where all of the coronavirus cases were around the country. So that way we were able to see that most of the cases in the Netherlands were actually in the south part of the country, around Eindhoven and Utrecht and below, basically. And for the time that we were there were very few in Amsterdam. There were actually more in Chicago, where we live and where we're right now, than there were in Amsterdam the entire time we were there. So
yeah, it's funny, actually. I felt relatively safe and fine the whole time we were in Amsterdam. I thought it was a lovely time. It was great. Definitely less tourists on the streets than usual than last time we were there back in 2014. But I think that from my perspective, the bigger part was on our not our mad dash home, but our unexpected return. That's where I felt probably the most
vulnerable.
Yeah, I guess that's a good term. Thinking about going through the airports, touching things, lots of Purell. going into the airport lounges, which in hindsight, maybe the airport lounges weren't the best place to go, but it was good.
So Drew, that's a really great question. So Drew is asking, how accommodating were your airlines and hotels with the situation? Sorry. And how sudden everything was.
Yes.
So we actually went to Amsterdam. I should start out with saying, knowing in the back of our heads that this could happen and having kind of a plan of how we were going to make this all happen. So we didn't decide to go to Amsterdam until the week before we left.
Yeah, we'd kind of had the time circled for a vacation, maybe get away and whatnot, and then as we were seeing things happening and evolving in real time with COVID-19, we were trying to figure out where could we go to. Eliz, being part Dutch, was really excited to go to Amsterdam, see some of the sites where her family used to live and whatnot. And so that was high on our list, and it just so happened that as we were monitoring the situation over in Europe, we noticed that Amsterdam was actually a pretty good place to go to. And so kind of the day before we were supposed to go, actually it's funny, Drew, your brother, was here hanging out with us, and we kind of made the decision while he was here that we're going to Amsterdam and booked our flights.
Right. So the reason why we were able to do that is because of Rachel, who's on this. She works for one of the big domestic airlines, and she's been so kind to give us both the ability to fly standby last week. So we actually decided to fly standby to Amsterdam, probably with a day or two of final decision making on it. And we saw that a lot of the flight loads looked promising for us to get on. So we just decided to go ahead and do it. And
I will say that the benefit of everybody not wanting to go to Europe because they might get stuck in Europe was that the flight loads were very, very low, and we were able to get first or business class, I guess, which was pretty sweet. I would say,
which was awesome. But anyway, so we know that not everybody can, of course, always do that. Most European trips are planned far, far in advance in order to save money. So what we ended up doing, as soon as we knew that we were going to get assigned seats on the flight to Amsterdam, is we booked our hotel then. From the Detroit airport. So we went from our local Chicago airport over to Detroit, which is a big hub for that airline. And then we, as soon as we got assigned seats, we booked a really lovely hotel that we actually stayed in last time.
Hotel Asteria.
Yeah, Hotel Asteria. And oh my goodness, I think it cost over $300 per night last time we were there, and we got it for like $100 per night, just because of how crazy all this was. And we only booked for 3 nights at the beginning.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night.
And then on Wednesday evening before we went to bed, we booked for the next night as well, because we at that point had decided that we were not going to travel around the rest of the Netherlands as originally planned because of the coronavirus. And we were going to stay in Amsterdam and just do more things around town, because honestly, there's a ton of fun things to do. I mean, it's a wonderful city, and we certainly hadn't seen it all yet. So we thought we'd be safest there too with the virus. And so we, definitely we're glad that we only extended 1 more night, and we're kind of playing it by ear with the hotel. And at that point, the hotel was extremely accommodating. And definitely understood why we would only be extending, 1 night each night sort of thing. And they had plenty of rooms available because people had started to not travel. So we weren't worried about that either. So from an accommodation standpoint,
we didn't have to cancel any rooms or anything. I think that if we had wanted to fly back on Thursday and cancel that extra night that we had booked, we might have been stuck. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was 110 euros to extend it for 1 night, and that's, in the grand scheme of things, not that bad if we had to lose 1 night. But we were lucky because we were, we always had in the back of our head that something could happen, so we didn't want to, book a bunch of non-refundable things and then get stuck with the bill. And then the same thing with coming back. One of the things about our flights that we were thinking about was, we wanted maximum flexibility, and we're very lucky that with my work, I travel quite a bit, so I have a lot of frequent flyer miles on American. And so we always knew that if we had to come back and couldn't get on standby, with the one airline, we could always use miles and book, a guaranteed ticket back on an American. So,
which we ended up doing. So let's just go over kind of what happened in between Wednesday night at 3 in the morning and Friday at 3 p.m. when we got home. So middle of the night, you guys' Wednesday night in the U.S. it was like early hours Thursday morning in Europe. We started getting tons of texts and phone calls, and both of our phones were actually on silent, but with things vibrating. And so if it hadn't been for the quantity of texts we received, thank you to everybody who sent us texts, we would not have woken up. Let's be clear. But I wouldn't have
woken up anyway.
Yeah,
she woke
I
up
was the
and
only one
woke me
that,
up.
and because I kept hearing texts thinking like, oh my gosh, I must be on a group text right now or something. But I decided to finally check it, and thank God I did, because I think we had like 27 text messages and stuff of people being like, wake up, urgent. And so I finally, I don't think I even responded to anybody right away. I just opened my laptop and said, Derek, get up. And we decided immediately to use miles, his mile, award miles on American Airlines to book to confirmed tickets home. And specifically, we were looking for tickets in more premium seats because if there was going to be kind of a mass exit from Europe, we wanted to make sure that we limited our exposure. And so the more premium and seats, the more space you get on the plane. So that was, ideal for us. It wasn't like we were going to stay in Europe if we didn't have premium
so
seats.
So what ended up happening, that's kind of beside the point, but like what ended up happening was we booked our tickets for Thursday. The next morning we realized that if we changed our flight to Friday on American, we could actually sit next to each other, which would be nice because that would also limit our direct exposure to not having to be right next to somebody who's a stranger and might be a carrier, who knows. But we wanted to sit next to each other, so we decided to, delay it and not come home on Thursday, but instead come home on Friday. That's what gave us that extra day in Amsterdam. And by the time we woke up on Friday morning, then
Friday morning at 3 a.m., I got a message from American Airlines that our flight had been delayed 2 hours already.
As you can tell, she wasn't sleeping.
I didn't sleep whatsoever. Derek slept a lot better than me, which is why he's looking great right now. So
thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, 3 a.m. Friday morning, American texts us that our flight was delayed, and our flight didn't leave until the early afternoon anyway. So we decided to try to list ourselves on standby on Delta again to get home. And thanks to Rachel, she helped kind of confirm that it looked promising that we were going to be able to get there, because the numbers were definitely hard to read, just based on everything that was changing so rapidly. So anyway.
So long story short, we actually cleared onto that airline and got seats. We were actually very lucky. Again, got business class coming back. I think they probably oversold economy because everybody was, changing their flights and getting on there. So I think it would have been harder to get an economy seat. It was actually easier for us to get business class because, again, corporate travelers are not traveling right now because most businesses have kind of stopped. They've told their employees, don't do international travel, don't travel if you don't have to. So that cabin, I think there were open seats within that cabin even once we were. Actually, I know there were because I was able to change my seat to a window seat, which was awesome.
Next to me.
Next to her, but it was a window seat. I mean, come on. So it was, it worked out very well. And so what we ended up doing was we again canceled my awards flight on American. The beauty there is when you book with points, with miles, you can always get back your miles, right? And luckily, I happen to have pretty high status on American, and so I also get refunded the taxes that I paid for the flight as well. So I'm able to get all of that refunded, and so we're not out of pocket anything with the American miles. I don't know that holds true for everybody, so you kind of need to look at what your status is on the airline and how that works. I know that sometimes on American you have to pay what do they call it? It's like a $125 fee to basically get your miles back. But fortunately that's waived for me. I don't know if, in this time right now, if that would have been waived for everybody, just given, what's going on and how hectic it is. I would like to hope so. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Derek, what is it? You flew around the world how many times on American Airlines last year?
Like 3.5 times.
3.5 times. So yeah, they're waiving the fee for him, which came in huge handy. And again, we knew that this could happen before we left, and knew that we had this type of access that we know that not a lot of other people had, and that's why we made the decision to go when many other people would not have.
I mean, if we wouldn't have had that option, I don't know that we would have gone.
No, I don't think we would have risked that at all, and we don't have any kids, so we don't.
No kids, no dogs.
We can just hang out right now here in our little quarantine together. But anyway, one other thing I wanted to add is the experience on the flight back. So
it was nice.
Well, yeah, the actual flying, I finally caught up on a little sleep, which was so needed. I usually do a travel vlog on travel days. I could not put myself on camera because I looked like a zombie. I was so tired. Yeah. But anyway, now we're talking about it instead. So I
drank a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is halfway through the flight, one of the flight attendants came on and did an announcement saying that they just had received word that when we landed in Detroit, a representative from the CDC was going to come onto the plane and call a few people by name, and those people would need to deplane first, grab all their luggage and deplane first. They did not know or were not able to share with us what the names were. So of course that felt very freaky. I think everybody was kind of looking at each other like, where have you been? Where have you been?
Yeah, that was a little...
It was definitely kind of scary. But by the time we landed, they kept waiting. They delayed opening the cabin door, and they waited for the CDC rep to come. And it turns out they didn't end up calling names after all, but half the flight we just had known that this was going to be a potential thing.
I mean, it's important to understand.
Happened, then it's for safety reasons, and you just have to go with it.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole flight, everybody was very professional. Everything was great. Service was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Some airlines.
All the crew definitely were in the air when they announced, going to Amsterdam when the announcement happened. I did the math about what the layover would have been and everything, and we talked to them and thanked the pilots, thanked the crew for flying us, because they're putting their health just as much at risk as all the travelers. So it was really cool. Everybody kind of had a great mentality on the plane. We're all in this together, wanting to get home together. So when we went through customs, Derek and I both have global entry, so we also were on the first flight of the day. So what I've heard since is that a lot of the airports, and I've seen pictures of a lot of the airports being super crowded with customs.
That's because they've limited the ports of entry to only a certain number. I think 14 airports at this point can take international flights. So they're getting many, many more people coming in and having to go through customs than they have historically, right? So I think that's the reason why the lines are as bad as they are today. But when we came in,
and they're taking people's temperatures, I hear now too, which we didn't have our temperature taken because we got in before the
I think the biggest issue though is that they're dealing with much higher throughput than what they've ever had to do before, right? So we came in on Friday. That was before the restrictions were in place. All airports were taking international travelers at that time, coming through Detroit, and so we just kind of walked straight through. There was no line. It was very nice. Looking at the pictures though from O'Hare, it looks like things have gotten a little crazy. So happy that we came back early.
Yeah, it's all over the news here in Chicago how long the lines are to get back into through customs. I think on Saturday evening, it was like a 4-hour wait to go through customs at O'Hare. So we didn't wait at all. It was maybe like a few people in front of us in line, which we were very grateful for. Again, nobody took our temperature, which I thought would happen, but we ended up just coming home and taking our temperatures and seeing that we were fine anyway. So,
Yeah.
And that's something I should add. Derek and I both feel incredibly healthy. We don't feel like we're sick. We have been taking Emergency, which I'm allergic to oranges, so this is like the blueberry acai flavor, and that's what I buy. Most of you guys probably do the orange one. Yeah, here's our we wanted to do this on camera so you guys know that we're taking our vitamin C.
Yeah, I mean, really this is all about, the reason why we're saying that we're in quarantine right now is, it's not mandated or anything. It's more about the whole, and everybody's been hearing about it, right? Social distancing and not, going out and potentially spreading it to people who are at risk. I think we both have family members that we would be, just devastated if they got the disease. And so, for us, it's very important that, we're responsible and that we're not, I actually, the Walters world people said it pretty well. I don't want to be the reason somebody dies, right? I mean, that would be heartbreaking. So now we're staying home at least for this week, probably for 2 weeks, and I'll just be doing calls from home. So
So I just want to go back into the chat real quick. So Darlene is saying that they'd planned a trip to Seattle, and both their hotel and Delta refunded them, no questions asked. And I know Seattle is definitely a hot spot right now. We have
Washington.
friends. We have friends, of course, in Seattle. One of my bridesmaids lives in Seattle. And our hearts go out to all the people there, because that's definitely got to be a very scary place to be, even compared to Chicago right now. But I think as long as we all stick to this quarantine and try to stay in as much as possible, we're going to do us all a good service and really get over this and get through this quick.
Yep.
And
Vitamin D
Rachel,
is-
yeah. Good job, Rachel. Take your vitamin C.
Yeah. Bob and Terry are asking if vitamin D is helpful. We have no thoughts on that, I don't think, but
Yeah, we aren't
I
doctors,
like vitamin D.
but there is vitamin D and zinc in here too.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not harmful because we're doing this.
Alan is asking what we're going to do about food this week while in
Great
isolation.
question, because we are getting a lot of texts right now that I actually have to answer, and Derek's going to respond to what we're doing.
Yeah, so what we did was on Saturday, was that Saturday that we ordered everything?
Yeah, Saturday morning.
So Saturday morning we woke up and ordered a bunch of food for delivery, actually, from Whole Foods. The earliest delivery time on that, or Instacart, or any of the other grocery delivery services, was Monday during a certain window. So we went on and just made our orders that way. Again,
So
we didn't want to go out.
Right now, they're shopping for us literally right now.
Yeah.
So I have to tell them for all the things that are out of stock in store, like either substitute it or just don't charge us for it.
Why am I not getting these texts?
Because I had it only come to my phone.
Yeah, so we we ordered a bunch of stuff, enough to get us through a couple weeks or whatever, and now it'll hopefully be delivered sometime between 2 and 4 p.m. That's kind of the
Today.
earliest window date that we got.
So 2.5 days later.
2.5 days later. But it was fine, because what we ended up doing, and one of the things that we think is important, is not just stocking up on things, but if we would have eaten out anyways, maybe order delivery, because one of the issues is that a lot of these like local businesses, restaurants, whatever, they're going to be hurting with all of this, right? I mean, here in Chicago, they just ordered that bars, restaurants, cafes, everything needs to, shut down starting today, and only do delivery service. So, think about that. All these people whose livelihood depends on people going out and being social are going to be impacted, not just in the travel industry, but just
the whole hospitality
industry. And so, I think that ordering delivery services on things like Seamless, is still a good thing to do if, you can afford it and it makes sense, because you can still get the delivery, maybe tip a little bit extra to your delivery guy, help out where you can. So,
and I actually saw and reposted this on my Instagram story this morning. There's some foundations that are helping out people who are in the hospitality industry and might have their wages affected over the next few weeks. So if that applies to you or anyone you know, feel free to look into that. I believe it's in my story as of a few hours ago.
Yep. But yeah, so that's what we plan to do. We, over the weekend we're ordering, Thai food and Chinese and whatnot.
We have only been ordering food. Yeah, so hopefully these groceries come, because we can't just live off of takeout, I guess, forever.
And we haven't necessarily been ordering the healthiest takeout either. So.
No.
And we didn't necessarily eat healthy in Amsterdam either, because Amsterdam's not really known for its health food. It's there's a lot of fried food. It's delicious.
If you guys saw Derek's story, he got oh my gosh, what was it, the Dutch sampler platter, and absolutely everything on it was fried.
Yeah, there's fried Gouda, I think. I don't know. Some sort of cheese.
Some sort of fried meat.
Some fried like sausages. Fried, they call them bittenballen, which is like a fried meatball-ish. I don't know. And it was awesome. It was very good.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that, Rachel. So Rachel's saying that hospitality workers can also look into potentially unemployment benefits and other benefits too. So Drew, DoorDash, is that something that you use actively? Because we always just use Seamless Plus. We used to live in New York, which is why we still use the Seamless app instead of the Grubhub app. Are we planning to work out from home?
Work out. So there's a lot of, that's one of the other things, right? It's like you can't go to the gym, right? When if you're in self-isolation, working out at home with online courses.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Rachel, no, exactly. So there's things like Beachbody and stuff that you can download, and it's relatively cheap actually.
And I do a lot of YouTube yoga.
Yeah. She tries to get me to do YouTube yoga.
Yoga with Adrienne is a pretty good channel. She has a lot of stuff. There's a lot of other YouTube yoga that I've done. But yeah, Beachbody we might sign up for. We do have gym memberships here down the street, but we wouldn't dare go.
Yeah, we wouldn't go during, at least for the next month or so. That I'd be shocked if they're even open at this point, honestly. But online stuff, and not just workout courses. I mean, this is a great opportunity. You look around and people are asking, what do you do during isolation, and it's it's a great opportunity to take courses, learn a language, brush up on Spanish.
Derek's
maybe download
actually,
Rosetta Stone.
Before this all completely blew up, he became a Skillshare ambassador, and that's also a thing that you can sign up for 2 free months, and then you get access to all these courses. So this would be an awesome time to take courses. He's been doing a bunch of photography courses on Skillshare, just brushing up more on the travel photography element, and I've been trying to join as much as I can too.
It's great for editing and stuff. So hey, if anybody wants to do Skillshare, follow the link in my Instagram, Mr. Means to Travel, and sign up for 2 free months.
We did not intend on talking about this.
We did not. But it's honestly, it's a great, it's a great way to learn something new. And they have a bunch of stuff on, whether it's cooking, videography, photography, editing, a lot of creative stuff. So it's fun. I don't know.
Oh, sweet. So Rachel's saying Beachbody is offering 2 free weeks right now.
Cool. Maybe we'll do that. They have a ton. I mean, I've looked at Beachbody in the past. There's a ton of great classes on there.
Derek's
kind of the
P90,
kind of the P90X type type stuff, which is pretty great, and you don't need much by the way of equipment to do it. So,
well, it's gonna
true.
be. Yeah, Derek's been downing his coffee, huh? But yeah, so back to Beachbody. I mean, if anybody's looking for some good at-home workouts, my understanding about that service is that it's basically the Netflix of workout streaming. So you can choose whatever interests you. It's everything from P90X type workouts to yoga and everything in between. So as a family, if we share an account, we can just do whatever sounds best for us.
It's very economic, which is nice.
And there's a lot of workouts that don't require any props too, if I'm remembering correctly, because a lot of people normally use it when they're traveling for work and stuff.
Yeah.
I hope Evan doesn't mind that you just called him out, but yeah, let's do yoga together again.
Yeah, FaceTime yoga. Maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You can do FaceTime yoga.
Maybe I'm definitely not a yoga instructor in any way, shape, or form, so I should not live stream any yoga classes. But if anybody wants to do some private yoga FaceTiming session, we can totally do that together. All right. So and meditation and self-care too. That's totally a great point. There's so many great services out there right now too for that. I actually have downloaded
Headspace?
a few. Well, Headspace is a very popular one, and the Calm app. I'm not sure how much of that is free versus paid access, but what I've done is I actually have a playlist that I just paid for one time on iTunes that has body scan meditations and like lying down meditations and stuff at different minute levels. And so you can do 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and 10 minutes. And it's all kind of on one album. So I just downloaded it once. And it's by a very popular meditation guru called John Kabat-Zinn. And if anyone's interested, I can give you guys more information about that. But I've had it for 12 years, and anytime that I have trouble falling asleep or just need to get out of my head, I'll just turn on whatever makes sense and go through that.
Yeah.
All right. What does that say? So my yoga studio canceled class. Rachel's saying my yoga studio canceled classes and it's live streaming them instead too. Well, that's so smart of them to keep everything going.
Yeah.
And way better than me live streaming yoga, that's for sure.
That's funny.
Insight, yeah, Rachel, you are like crushing this. Thanks for contributing. So Insight Timer is a great meditation app with a lot of free content, she's saying. I haven't used that before, and I'm definitely going to go check that out after this, especially with the free content.
Yeah.
That's good to have just no matter what, like whether or not you're in quarantine or you just need to have something to listen to.
Travel a lot.
Yeah. When you're on a crowded subway and don't want to be.
You don't want to be on a crowded subway? Yeah.
I never want to be on a crowded subway, coronavirus or not.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's, I think that one of the things that we're thinking about right now is, what do we do after this, after the self-imposed quarantine or whatever you want to call it. And, is there any travel in our future? I think that, we'll probably be, there's obviously travel in our future. It's just a question of when. I think that, once we know whether or not domestic travel makes sense, and again, we'll be tracking that, real time and making decisions down the road. That's when we'll be, figuring out what our next trip is. And, I think that maybe, if things calm down here in the U.S. domestically, I think there's a lot of trips in the U.S. that we want to take. Definitely national parks. We bought a national park pass actually when we were out in Utah when we went to visit Zion National Park.
When we were staying with Bob and Terry.
Yeah, and that was an awesome trip. We loved it. It was beautiful. Bob Terry, beautiful house. And we, want to make it to a number of other parks this year. Eliz made it out to Red Rocks. Is that what it's called in Vegas?
Red Rock Canyon.
Red Rock Canyon, which is a national reserve or something.
It's not a technical national park.
But it's part of the National Park Service.
Yeah.
Right?
It counts with the pass.
Yeah. So, $80, I think, or something like that is a great deal if you plan to hit more than, I think, 3. If you hit 3, you've broken even and actually
And we've
come out
already
ahead.
hit 2.
Yep, so we've hit 2. And there's a lot that we've never been to, Yellowstone, Yosemite, etc. And it would be fun to get to those this year. So if international travel's off the table for a while, there's still a lot of domestic stuff that we kind of want to get planning. And even if we don't want to fly, maybe a road trip might be in order, which would be a lot of fun. Eliz can create some content around road trips.
Yeah, are any of you guys planning road trips or had road trips planned this year? I know my parents are big road trip people, so they'll probably raise their hands. But it's always interesting how different road trip travel can be from airplane travel, but still be very meaningful and rewarding at the same time.
Yeah. And domestic includes Hawaii, which I would fly to in a heartbeat because that would be beautiful.
We'll see. It all depends on what the CDC says.
Of course.
And what's safe. So we're going to do whatever they say and follow those guidelines. I think one thing to really focus in on is the fact that travel is not going to disappear. We just can't do it for a while. We can't do it until it makes sense to again. So what I'm going to focus on, because obviously my business is really heavy with travel, with the means to travel, is just understanding more about what people's travel dreams look like. And he's so cute. Understanding more what people's travel dreams look like and how to help them manifest those as soon as it's possible to do so.
Yeah, and there's also virtual travel and things like that. And one of the things to do right now is maybe think about what is that trip that you want to take, whether it's to Italy or to China or where it is, and you can start planning that trip now for the future because it will happen eventually. There's a lot of museums and other cultural institutions that have great resources online. You can kind of do virtual tours and learn more about the culture and the history that would make your travel that much more impactful when you actually get to go. So I think that there's still a lot of stuff out there that's great, and I look at personally Instagram as the thing that I love the most about social media, and that's about looking at beautiful pictures and beautiful destinations and thinking about what are my bucket list places to go to, what are things I want to see, that I want to photograph.
I think
it's good to plan.
What my dad is saying, we should just help clarify what we were saying, because I just want to be clear. Right now, in our opinion, nobody should be traveling anywhere. You should definitely, as much as possible, be staying home, inside, minimizing your exposure to anyone. What we were trying to, I guess, start talking about is once the government says that it's more safe to travel, what that might look like and how that might shift based on what we all thought would have happened months ago, would have been happening months ago. Because there's so many people that have had to cancel their spring breaks, cancel their summer trips, but it's for the best. We all need to agree on
course.
that.
I think that the, if you look at the travel industry, the hospitality industry, and you think about what's next, I think I agree a lot with what Mark from Walter's World was kind of saying today. They did a live stream today that was great.
Did they? Oh, I thought it was yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday. Never mind. It wasn't today. I don't know. It was yesterday.
we're losing track of days here.
Yeah. The days are blurring together.
But yeah, they're a wonderful couple out of Champaign, Urbana, downstate that travel all the time with their family. And
but
we follow them. They're great.
What he was saying was that they're looking at maybe rearranging some of their travel to help out some of those places that have been very, very hard hit by this catastrophe, by the pandemic, like Italy or China, so that once travel is safe again, they would look to go to those places and kind of use their platform to show the world that it's safe to go back. Because while everybody understands that once the pandemic's over, there's no reason to avoid China. There's no reason to avoid some Italy or what have you. People aren't necessarily entirely rational, and so it's important to kind of show people that it's safe to
They're
be back
definitely
there.
not rational. They're avoiding Chinese food restaurants, and those are the best.
Which is why we ordered Chinese food yesterday.
We ordered Chinese food yesterday.
It makes sense to kind of try to get to those places and help people out, and because the one thing that we know is that there's going to be a lot of businesses that go under, a lot of small businesses that go through a lot of tough times both here and abroad, and it's important that we do what we can to kind of help out. So it's a global community.
Small and large businesses are in all hospitality fields, not just travel, but obviously travel really extensively is suffering, but all hospitality fields are going to need our help.
Yep.
So.
Al is saying that in Florida they still have a bunch of spring breakers on the beaches even today. Yeah, that's the reason why here in Chicago, Pritzker, had to kind of mandate that they close down, everything, because
I actually heard that because a lot of colleges have closed down, that a lot of people extended their spring break since they were out there anyway, and other people were canceling like in subsequent weeks. They were able to extend. So I don't know if that also is a contributing factor too.
Well, yeah, we ran into a couple in Amsterdam where she's a professor at University of UT Austin, and she was saying that they had, I believe, extended their spring break to 2 weeks instead of 1 week, to try to keep students away from campus and whatnot for a longer period of time, and likely that they probably move to online coursework. I think Harvard has moved to online coursework. A number of universities have kind of gone online. I think University of Illinois has gone online as well. And so, basically, these institutions are trying to adapt, and because of that, kind of similar to what they did in China, where they extended the Chinese New Year to try to keep people from coming back into work in the cities and stuff. Some of the universities have done that with spring break. But, that's the reason why, if you look at last weekend, the Chicago bars were still kind of full during St. Paddy's Day, when, we should be practicing social distancing and not really going out and raging at a bunch of parties. At least that's my view, because, you never know who might be a carrier, and, if somebody lives with their elderly grandmother, that could cause issues. So
Derek's part of a photography community here, and they had a photography meetup scheduled on Saturday morning that as soon as we landed, it had not yet been canceled, and we just made the decision, he wasn't going to go because...
Well, it ultimately got canceled.
It ultimately got canceled last minute, but we didn't want to be putting, it's like if somebody lives with somebody with poor health, and they didn't know that me and Derek had just been in Europe and were interacting with Derek. We didn't want to do that. So.
No. But yeah, so that's why the governor here mandated that all bars, restaurants, and stuff, they're closed for everything except for delivery. So they're kind of taking the choice out of the hands of the general populace to kind of mandate that people can't go hang out at bars and whatnot, and potentially risk spreading the disease further and faster. So, maybe Florida will do something similar. Who knows?
Yeah.
One of the other things, so Darlene, road tripping to Nashville in July for a week. Yeah, so there's the conference down there. That'll be fun. Nashville is a great place. I love Nashville. That's where I had my bachelor party.
We have some friends down there
Great
too.
place. We have some friends down there.
We
who
like
are
country
in the
music.
country
so
music industry.
We like Nashville.
Yeah, fried chicken, country music, honky tonks. I mean, what's not to love? But yeah, so Nashville's
There's more
great.
than just country music in Nashville. I think I need
There's
to do my
rock.
due diligence and say that.
Yeah, but mainly country music. And Hattie B's fried chicken, hot chicken, delicious. Big fan. Get there early because the line starts to form before it even opens at like 10 a.m. And if you're not there early, you're going to be in line for a long time. Otherwise,
I'm not a fried chicken person, but it is pretty good, I guess, for fried chicken.
But yeah, so one other thing I guess to talk about is, kind of what other people kind of did around the whole travel and whatnot. And, I'd mentioned that we'd met a couple, I wouldn't say an elderly couple, but they were older than us, right? They were probably in their 60s.
They were baby boomers.
Yes. And so they decided to, keep their original travel plans, and they're flying back on Monday. So they're flying back today?
No, they were flying back yesterday from Amsterdam to the UK, and then there is a direct flight on British Airways, surprisingly, from London straight to Austin, Texas.
Yep.
And so they were on that flight, which I assume they got back okay, because...
I hope they did.
But I know that a lot of airlines are protecting their crew, and rightfully so. Yeah, I knew we were going to get that.
I didn't say elderly. I said not elderly. I said older than us.
Yeah, anyway, so... Anyway, so I believe they probably would have been able to get back. It's just whether or not the UK, because the crew on British Airways is probably UK based, and so if the UK had put out an issue that people couldn't come back from the US without being quarantined back into the UK, then that might have been a problem for them.
Well, I don't know how it works either, because the UK and Ireland, were added to the travel ban over the weekend. So
Yeah,
I don't know
think
how
the deadline for that one was today.
Yeah, but I don't know how
Monday.
flight crews, if you're a flight crew with British Airways, if you can't come into the U.S. to fly the plane, right? So that would make it so that maybe their flight got disrupted. I don't know, but those are all important things to think about. And so they were keeping their original, plans because they figured, it'd be a crazy mad dash to get to the airports, and then they'd probably be at more risk because of how crazy it would be, and like the petri dish that is the airport airline, whatever. So they kept their original plans, and we were thinking about that, but ultimately decided not to. And seeing the lines getting back into the U.S. from like Chicago and stuff, I'm very happy that we moved up our plans to get in before the restrictions took place. And then we have a good friend who's in Argentina right now, and she's stuck there. Argentina's closed their borders; you can't come or go.
And to be clear, she's working in Argentina now. She wasn't just traveling.
So she's working there, and so luckily she has the benefit of a great company that is supporting her, and she still has a job. I think she's working remotely at this point, but
and access to whatever the Argentinian healthcare service looks like. And that's the thing that you have to really consider is if you get sick at whatever destination that you're at, what does your healthcare options look like? And so, we aren't familiar enough to say what that looks like everywhere in the world that we've been. It's not necessarily something we always look up, but it's something now that we're going to educate ourselves more about.
Yeah, and I think Argentina Argentina specifically has a decent healthcare system, and it's fine down there. But at this point, there are no flights in and out of Argentina, so I was actually just like texting her the other day, and she was like, it's different once you're actually once there are no longer any options. She was planning to stay anyways, but then once she kind of posted a screenshot of there are no flights to the U.S. anymore, and so that was kind of makes it more real, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And what's scary for her, and if somebody that she knows gets sick here, she can't come visit them.
Yeah, but I think she made the right choice based on her circumstance and everything. So, all schools are closed and doing online classes, colleges included. Also, all bars and restaurants are closed with the exception of any carry-out or drive-through.
Yeah, that's Darlene. That's the same as here in Illinois now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of this reality that we live in. And probably going to be the case everywhere in the U.S. at least for the next 2 weeks, and it's for the best for everybody. Yeah,
and they're kind of doing the same thing, in a number of places. They're doing that in France. They're doing that kind of all over the place. It's a pretty common change that's happening. So.
Yeah, New York just announced it too.
Yeah. New York City schools are closed now. I think they're the largest school district in the country. I assume they're also doing online courses, so that kids can still graduate and whatnot. Yeah. Glad we're not in high school.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anybody have any other questions for us? I know we're kind of getting towards the end of the hour here. But we're happy to answer any questions about Amsterdam. We're happy to, if you guys want to say that you want to hear about Amsterdam, we can talk about it.
We ate smelly herring. It was delicious.
We ate raw pickled herring.
Herring? Well, it wasn't pickled herring.
Well, there were pickles on the plate.
But it wasn't pickled.
The herring wasn't pickled. But
that I don't think I would eat.
I was really into it, but we also love sushi.
Yeah. Find a picture of it.
He's going to show you guys a photo. What else did we do? We went to the Anne Frank house, which neither of us had been to before, and that was really moving.
That was, the Anne Frank house was great. I think it's a must-do when you're in Amsterdam. In hindsight, maybe during a coronavirus outbreak, it was not the place that we should have gone, because that's probably the one time we were in
more close quarters.
Like close quarters with a lot of people.
Yeah. Because even at restaurants, the restaurants weren't as full or anything like that.
The restaurants.
So few tourists that we weren't seated near people as much or anything like that.
Yeah, the restaurants were fine.
Rachel's asking, was it promising to get most of what we ordered from Whole Foods? And that is a great question. I think there were about 6 substitutions that I had to approve or decline. But that's maybe out of 19 things that we ordered. So hopefully we're going to have some food to eat soon.
So hard to figure this out.
There you go. That's the herring.
It was very good. Very delicious.
Yeah.
It's not good to look at, I will say, but it tasted fine. Yeah. It's like eating sashimi, but with onions and pickles.
I thought it was awesome.
And this is the fried food that Eliz was basically saying that I ate too much of.
Because you keep getting in the reflection. So why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, so that's Gouda. I don't know, it's just a bunch of fried stuff. It was delicious.
Yeah, so that's the Dutch sampler platter. It's all fried.
Yeah, it was, I kind of think of Amsterdam as like Scotland in terms of just not known for culinary arts. But the cheese is delicious. The cheese is great. Good fresh fish.
So, I just want to go back. Actually, the people. I assume you're asking. My mom's asking about the delivery people delivering our takeout food. I think they were wearing gloves, but mostly it's just because it's cold outside. But Derek was actually the one that picked up the food each time. I have not been there to pick it up. They also, Seamless offers, which is the delivery service that we've been using, offers contactless delivery. So that means that they can
leave it.
Yeah, have the food just left on your doorstep, or if you live in a high-rise building, left in a lobby. Yep. So that way you don't even have to interact with the delivery person. Mm-hmm. And so we've been exploring that option too. Yep.
But I mean, regardless, it's still a minimized amount of contact as opposed to if you went to a restaurant and were next to people, right? So it's a relatively lower risk way of getting your food. So.
I'm almost done with my vitamin C, but I should probably drink more because Derek downed his.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. What else did we eat in Amsterdam? There's this awesome avocado place, which is totally not like traditional Dutch food, but it made very beautiful Instagram-worthy avocado dishes. And mine was like a poke bowl, but Derek's was a burger.
It was weird.
But surprisingly, we were not expecting this. The burger, instead of having a bun, used basically an avocado as the bun. And he's going to show it to you now.
Why?
You have to tilt it down, babe. There you go.
Ah.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
There we go. So that's like a giant avocado. I mean, that's all avocado. That is really. I ate it all, and that was probably too much avocado. But it was good. It was fun. It's an Instagram kind of. I mean, it's one of those restaurants that's made for Instagram. Yeah. Very colorful, bright, all that kind of stuff. And
it was like right on the canal. So beautiful. The weather was interesting in Amsterdam, and we were warned about this in advance that it's very unpredictable. But on day one, it ruined my umbrella. The wind was so strong, and the rain was so thick, and then it almost ruined Derek's umbrella, and then it ruined a hotel umbrella, and then after that, it was sunny. It
was actually really funny. Eliz's umbrella broke. We went inside, grabbed a replacement. She walked outside. And the moment she opened it, it just went inside out again. And we walked straight back in. And the guy at the desk was just like, what happened?
I just go, I'm sorry for this comedy routine, but I think I just broke a second umbrella.
Yeah, so lots of wind, gusty wind, and good times. Name of that place. So it was called the Avocado Show.
The Avocado Show. And there's actually several locations because it's so popular.
In Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam. We went to the one on the... Oh, gosh. I can never pronounce...
Some canal.
The canal starts with a K. I don't even want to embarrass myself trying to pronounce it.
It's like the second or third canal out from the center.
Yeah, and it's really close
to the west, southwest.
The 2, 11, and 12 tram lines.
It was good, though.
Oh, we also went to a place for breakfast called Greenwoods, which was funny because that's where Derek grew up, was in Greenwood.
Yeah. And that was very nice. Again, it was one of those places that has, beautiful looking food. And, it was actually very hearty. We each had pancakes. We had like a pancake breakfast, which, again, Amsterdam, very much known for their Dutch pancakes.
What's great about Amsterdam, too, is that the whole population, learns English in school. So while they'll speak to each other in Dutch, you pretty much can just assume without asking that whoever you talk to is going to speak English, especially if you're in a more touristy area. Normally when we travel, we ask first, obviously in places that have other languages. But in the Netherlands, the response we would get is, I would say, "Oh, do you speak English?" And they say, "Yes, of course." It was almost like I was insulting them, and so I'm sure they get it all the time. But
especially the younger people are very good at English. But it was nice. It is nice not having to ask every single time. Every time when we're in France or
in France, I try to speak very broken French as much as I can until they tell me that they speak English, or we work through it.
I just say anglais.
And then both Derek and I speak Spanish in at least conversational way.
Yeah, I've got the bad habit of no matter where we are, ask people if they speak Spanish rather than English first, because I feel, I don't know, better asking them if they speak Spanish, which is probably weird. So, did you get a chance to look up
No,
the
we
school?
did not.
No, we didn't look up the school where Eliz's Opa.
We
went to
unfortunately
school.
only had like 3.5 days
Yeah.
there, just based on having to come home so quickly. So we have to go back.
Yeah,
We gotta go back.
the jet lag actually surprisingly hit us a lot harder this trip than usual, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know,
really did.
we were that Monday when we got in. We took a nap that lasted way too long, and it was unfortunate because Monday was actually a pretty decent day in terms of like blue skies and everything. And by the time we got out there, it was a little bit less blue, so that was a little unfortunate. But no, there's a lot of cool stuff to do in Amsterdam, and highly recommend it if you've never been, or if you're looking to do your first European trip or anything like that. I think Amsterdam's a pretty easy place to be in. Given that there's not really an issue with the language barrier, and it's very, like, Amsterdam specifically is very manageable in terms of it's a relatively small city.
They have Uber
and it's
there.
walkable. They have Uber.
I think you can have your hotel call taxis.
Yeah, and there's taxi stands. The public transit's very easy, like the tram service, and that can get you, most places you want to be within the city. Day passes
The trams were super easy, and we bought day passes usually, which were like €7. And then you get unlimited rides.
And if you want to go to the north, and you have to take a ferry to get north, there's free ferries from the Central Station, which is the main train station that you will come into if you are coming in from the airport. So you come into the airport, you jump on the train, take that to Central Station. I think it's like less than a 15-minute train ride or something like that. And then most people then would walk south into the city center or whatever to get to their hotels, or you can go north via the ferry, which I think during rush hour runs like every 3 minutes. There's a departure, and up there is where there's some cool stuff. I guess there's some like boutiques and some universities and things like that. And there's also a thing called the Adam Tower, or the Adam Lookout, which is pretty cool. DAM, like shortened from Amsterdam. So you go up there, and I don't know how many stories it is, but you go up and you actually get a pretty decent view of the city of Amsterdam. We wanted to be there for sunset. We didn't quite stay the whole time for sunset, but we had it was very nice, and I'd highly recommend people go.
Yeah. We have been to the Rijksmuseum.
Yeah, so the question is, have we
not on
been to the
this trip.
Rijksmuseum? Yeah. It's a beautiful building, gorgeous on the outside, beautiful on the inside. A bunch of the Dutch masters.
Especially if your energy is questionable, it's a massive museum. So I would dedicate a day. I would not plan to do like the Rijksmuseum and the Van Gogh Museum in the same day or something like that. There's a lot to see. I mean, unless you don't like art. We have friends that don't like art, and they're just like, "Oh, I'll just go see the Mona Lisa and leave."
Which is not in the Rijksmuseum.
Right. I'm sorry, that's in the Louvre. But
Paris.
A lot of Dutch masters.
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying, all right, I want to look at some Rembrandts because I want to go just see some of the Dutch masters during that period, you could probably do that relatively quickly and efficiently, depending on how long you like to look at paintings.
Yeah.
And then
but if you actually really like art, you are going to want a whole day.
Yeah, but again, you could, if you're just trying to check things off a list, you can go to the Rijksmuseum, and that's very close to the Van Gogh Museum, right? So,
Derek and I clearly disagree on this, which is really funny.
All I'm saying is,
I love art museums, so I want you to know that if you love them too, that you probably don't want to do both in one day.
I'm less of a museum guy. I like taking pictures of.
Yeah, Derek loves to be out and about and taking photos, and we've hired guides before that, we've literally hired them for their time to show us around, and I've just had to like walk away with them and have them keep talking to just me because Derek just is like not even listening, just taking photos of all of the surroundings. And our guide in China, for example, is like, I can't walk away from him. He's not going to find us again. And I'm like, Derek, get it together. We got to keep it moving. We're learning. It's learning time.
Yeah.
Are there Van Gogh paintings at the Rijksmuseum is the question.
Don't remember.
I actually don't know. Sorry, we went to the Rijksmuseum in 2014, so...
6 years ago. It's been a little while.
If you want to see Van Gogh paintings, definitely go to the Van Gogh Museum, which is, like Derek was saying, very, very close to the Rijksmuseum. And... just maybe go in the morning if you have the opportunity to decide, because my understanding is it's a popular activity for younger tourists to go get high and then go. So,
So no. According to this, yes, there is Van Gogh works in the Rijksmuseum. So they have works from many people, including Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Van Gogh. So. You could do that, but I know a lot of people like to go to the actual Van Gogh Museum, which we actually were thinking about going to. And the important thing is, for those two in particular, the Van Gogh Museum and the Anne Frank House, is that you have to book times in advance. So if you are going, just make sure that you know that you have to book a specific time window to get there, go in, and see the works.
And usually you have to do it far in advance. We were able to get into the Anne Frank house just by the nature of how travel is right now, with only booking less than a week in advance. I think we booked, so we went on Tuesday, and I think we booked on Thursday or Friday of last week.
Yeah.
And
we could have gotten into the Van Gogh Museum, I think, the same day. We were looking in the morning for afternoon time slots, and we could have gotten in, but we decided to skip it because it was too nice outside on that specific day that we were going to go, and we were like, well, let's go take a look at the canals, take some pictures, and
we were just trying to be responsible
around
and avoid anywhere that could have been crowded.
Yeah.
So, definitely a different type of trip. Hopefully we don't all have to operate with that type of mentality for that much longer.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so now Darlene is saying, Ohio governor just announced that all gyms, movie theaters, and bowling alleys are closed. I had a friend post that she
the primary election is being canceled.
I don't know if that's just for Ohio, though. I'm kind of waiting for the Illinois primary, which is tomorrow, to be canceled, and I am shocked that I don't know if anyone knows differently. I keep seeing that it's still on tomorrow. We'll see.
I won't be voting. That's just me.
Anyway, so I forget what I was talking about.
Different trip. Hopefully, it's not like that for much longer. I think there's a lot of trips that we kind of want to do, so hopefully it ends soon. High on our list are, obviously, as we talked about, the national parks. Hawaii was something that we were thinking about for April. Mexico City is a place that we want to get to soon. We had been talking about going and visiting our friend down in Argentina. That's clearly not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, she's supposed to be there until August. Right?
Yeah, so hopefully it'll clear up at some point and we can get down there and hang out. What else? We had a lot of stuff that we're kind of working on for the next year, and I think a lot of that's kind of up in the air at this point.
Yep, but it is for everyone, and rightfully so.
And, clearly I will not be going to any movies at theaters anytime soon, so thank God for streaming music services.
So my friend went to the movies last night that she was posting about, and she said she and her friend were the only ones in the theaters. So I think a lot of people were already kind of practicing that type of social distancing.
Yeah, and I think that one of the, AMC theaters actually had announced that they were going to limit their ticket sales per screen or whatever to half capacity. So if there are 500 seats, they'd only sell 250 tickets per screen, to try to limit the density of people within the
Yeah.
theaters. I know that, based on what we've learned about how long it might survive in the air from a sneeze and things like that, I don't know that that's a foolproof way of doing it. So I think that, Ohio's probably taking a good step to just kind of close those now and, try to limit that exposure.
Yeah.
So
Just
that's,
for Ohio,
yeah.
just saying. Yeah, I'm sure Illinois is going to do something similar, as are several other states and countries.
Yeah. But you know what? For the price of a ticket to a movie, you can get a month of Netflix or something else and just stream anything that you want on your own TV. So.
And YouTube's free. And there's a lot that gives you free trials, actually.
Yep.
Just make sure if you don't want them forever that you set an alarm for it.
Yeah, the number of subscriptions that I found out that I was still paying for like a year later is very embarrassing. I'm bad about that.
That's why I'm in charge now. We speak from experience here.
Yeah. I just need to tell her when I sign up for those things.
Anyway, so yep, we're all gonna flatten the curve. I think that'll be, the result of this change in behavior.
Yeah. So, but once again, I mean, the whole thing here is, check what's going on, if you're planning to, do any sort of travel or whatnot, just keep up to speed on what's going on via, the CDC, the WHO,
all the official
websites and sources. Don't take anything that we've said, as gospel. Actually go out, do the research, and all the information you need is kind of out there, at least to the best of everybody's ability today. So do some reading, do your homework, and figure out what's right for you in terms of any sort of travel plans or whatnot. So
yeah. Well, I really appreciate you all joining. I hope you had fun drinking coffee or tea or
wine,
vitamin C.
We don't know what you're doing out there.
Maybe we can make a little poem. Coffee, tea, and vitamin C.
Okay.
This is me going crazy in quarantine. All right, so this is really fun. I guess we're gonna wrap up, especially because our groceries should arrive here soon. Maybe I'll post about it on Instagram when they do, so you all know that we're fed. Oh, whoa! More questions coming
in. Are the
in.
Dutch only moderately paranoid about COVID-19?
I doubt it. I don't want to speak for the Dutch because nobody in the hospitality industry wants to talk to people about how paranoid they are.
I'd say that they're worried, though. I mean, so one of the main Instagram, right? That's what I know. One of the main Instagram hubs for Amsterdam has come out saying that they're not going to post any more, photos, any more posts until the COVID-19 situation dies down. They're a major, they post a bunch of pictures that are, hey, come to Amsterdam, come, visit and whatnot, and that's kind of their whole thing. And so their whole mindset right now is that to be a, good part of the society, they want to stop that and not entice people to come on vacation because you shouldn't be right now anyways. Now, I'm going to continue to post things and, a bunch of shots from Amsterdam, so hopefully people can see what a beautiful place it is. It's a great time. I just posted a photo today on it. I think that we had a great time, and, I want people to understand that, now's the time that you can continue to kind of travel vicariously through, memories basically of, past trips. So while we're not traveling today, we'll continue to put out content, and, I'll continue to post on Instagram, photos from there, from China. Actually, I've got a Hong Kong picture that I'm going to probably post tomorrow.
Now's the best time to just be planning. If you're not traveling, and you typically do, now's a great time to just be planning for when that all changes.
Yep.
Keep those travel dreams alive, friends.
Yeah. Bob and Terry.
Yeah, thanks, Terry, by the way.
Yeah.
I think your mom lives in a high-rise. That'll be a really good option. And it's when you go to pay, you can select the contactless delivery.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important that, people just take this very seriously, especially, if you're above a certain age. And, yeah, I think that's just very important. So,
Yeah.
all
Well,
right.
I finished my vitamin C, so we got to sign off. Okay.
All right, guys.
Great talking to everybody, and happy travels whenever we can travel again.
Yeah.
Bye. All right. This is funny because
How does this work?
How does it work?